We've now got the ability to show a modal to the user, or basically this confirm message box right here, but we don't actually have any way to dismiss it or kind of say, yes, I do want to delete it, right? It doesn't actually do anything just yet. So if we open up the confirm itself, we'll see that we passed it two separate buttons, one of which we call on accept whenever the user clicks yes or presses yes, and the other we call on decline whenever they press no. And both on accept and on decline, just to be clear, are coming from the props that we pass this component, this confirm component. So we do have a component that we can customize and have very specific behavior whenever a user clicks yes or no, but we're not actually implementing that behavior just yet. To implement that behavior, we'll flip back over to employee edit, and I'm inside my render method, so I'm down a ways on the page a little bit. And here's where we had that confirm tag. So this is where we place the confirm itself. So we need to pass confirm right here, a on accept and on decline prop. And then in both those callbacks that we'll pass to them, we need to basically do the appropriate thing, right? We need to either dismiss the confirm message or we need to actually go and delete the user. So let's get to it. First, we will pass it a on accept and on decline prop. So let's do on accept and on decline. Then we need to pass these things actual callbacks, of course. So I will pass on, let's say just on accept. Or you know what might be better? Yeah, no, on accept is reasonable. I'd be really happy with on accept. I would also be happy with on accept confirm or on confirm accept, excuse me. Also on employee delete. That one might be a little bit misleading because that kind of implies that that is the action, or excuse me, the event that would be called after the employee was deleted. So I think that on accept is reasonable for right now. So we'll call on accept and on decline. Cool. So we'll take care of the easy one first, which is on decline. When the user presses on decline, presumably their intent is to just close that modal, close that message box that pops up to them. So let's scroll up a little bit. We're going to define both these callbacks as methods on this class. So I'm going to call them up right above the render method, and I'll place my on accept and my on decline. So again, we'll start with the on decline. Now this one's a little bit easier of the two. All we want to do here is hide that modal box. And keep in mind, the modal is only visible when this .state.show modal is true. So really all we have to do here is flip this Boolean to false, and the modal will just go away because now visible is going to be false and it's going to be hidden from the user. So we're not actually per se like kind of rendering the confirm to the user, you know, like kind of like rendering and sticking it onto the screen. We're just kind of toggling its visibility with a single prop. So let's come back up to on decline, and I'll say this dot set state show modal is false. So no, do not show the modal. I don't want to see the modal on the screen. So I've got a reasonable belief that this is going to work right here. So maybe I won't test it just yet. Let's do the on accept first, and then we'll do a full test. So in the case of on accept, this is where we want to actually initiate the employee deletion process. So this is where we're going to say like, hey employee, it's been nice knowing you, but you're out of here. Goodbye, so to speak. So we don't really have anything yet to handle deletes, but what we clearly need to do is somehow hop over to Firebase and say, hey, okay, this record right here, like Jane, you're fired. You are deleted. We need to just delete this record right here. So that's our end goal. To work with our Firebase data, we'll use the same pattern that we've used for all the other locations where we've worked with Firebase. We will create an action creator. So in my employee actions file, we will create a new action creator called employee delete. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'll define export const employee delete. Now we need to know exactly which employee we are attempting to delete here. And rather than passing in the name, which we might have many employees named Jane or Matthew or whatever other name, we need to pass in an ID, because the ID is going to be very unique and it's going to say this very particular employee, this is who I want to delete. So I'm going to assume that this thing is called with a UID, which is the ID of our employee. Next, for the rest of this, it's going to be very similar to the setup we've already done. We are going to get a ref to this very particular employee right here, and then we'll use a Firebase method to say, please, knock this guy out. Just take him out. We don't want him anymore. So we'll use the same pattern as we had before, where we grab the current user, create a ref, and then do something with that ref. So first we'll say const current user, and then we'll return a function to meet the requirements of Redux Thunk, because again, this is going to be an asynchronous action creator. Then we'll say firebase.database.ref, and in here, we're going to pass in the same type of interpolated string as before. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be very similar to our employee save one, because we want to reach in to a very particular employee, and we want to get a reference to a very particular employee. So we'll say, look into my collection of users, find my current user.uid, find this user's bucket of data, grab their employees, and then find this very particular employee. So that's where the UID is coming from right there. Now here's the new part of Firebase API. What we haven't quite covered yet is how do we remove records? Well, it's really not that bad. We just got to call remove. That's it. So we can get a ref to a node in Firebase. So this is like pointing at a very particular part of our Firebase data structure. And then we call remove on it. And this node and any children that it has, poof, just go away. They get removed. Now, after this, we need to make sure that we actually do something after here, right? Like just removing the employee isn't quite enough. We need to actually make sure that the user acknowledges, okay, I understand the employee was deleted, fantastic. So to handle that, I think it's appropriate that we navigate the user back to our employee list. Just be kind of like, okay, they're gone, kick them back to the employee list, and they're not going to see the employee on that list anymore. They're going to reasonably believe, yep, they're gone. So we'll chain on a .then. And inside of here, we'll call actions.employee list. Again, I don't want to add another view to my stack, so I'm going to type in type reset, as in I'm not going forward per se, I'm just navigating to a new view, start a new bucket of views for me. You also notice that we didn't use dispatch here. So we could probably take this argument out. We're not using dispatch just because we know that whenever we make a change to our list of employees, that existing fetch employees action creator right up here, the value event is going to trigger again. We're going to see another dispatch, and we're going to get the new collection of employees showing on the screen. So we know that once we delete the employee, everything should just kind of update the way we expect. So I don't really need to call another action creator in here, and I don't really need to dispatch an event. I could dispatch an event to handle, say, the error case, or maybe I want to show a big checkbox to say, yes, the user, or excuse me, the employee was deleted, but again, that's kind of up to you as the developer. So let's do a test. I'm going to refresh my simulator. And I just realized before we can do that, let's take a quick break because this is turning a little bit long. Let's take a quick break and hook up this action creator in the next section and then test all this behavior.